Between shifting trade policies and the impact of global events, there's a lot of uncertainty in the ag space right now, and it's having an impact on everything from input purchase decisions to the farmland real estate market. CEO of National Land Realty, Ronnie Richardson, joins us now with his perspective. We appreciate your time, and it's nice to meet you this morning, Ronnie.
Thank you so much for having us, Jennifer. We always appreciate being here.
Well, let's talk about this looming uncertainty currently in the market.
You know, we've been facing it for a couple of months, and it's with shifting trade policies and, of course, the impact of the recent global events. We just don't know how this is going to impact commodity prices, oil prices, i.e. land prices. And then you got the big, beautiful bill hanging out there, and you know, they intend to allocate $52 billion to farm safety nets like price loss coverage. And I got a real life story that happened yesterday, and I'll be very brief with it. But we're selling a pecan farm yesterday, or we're trying to sell a pecan farm yesterday, $5 million pecan farm. And the seller's not real sure they want to sell. The buyer's not real sure they're ready to buy. And, you know, they both turn and look at me and say, what do you think we ought to do with this big, beautiful bill hanging out there? And it's like, I mean, I look like a baby calf staring at the gate, because they wanted an answer. And fortunately, we talked through the pros and cons of the big, beautiful bill, the $52 billion. And what does that mean? Does that mean if the price of pecans go down, that it covers it? No, that's not what it means. You don't get a check just because the price goes down. It means there's a possibility, and it's not guaranteed to pass. And so I wouldn't plan around the bill. Now, the seller of this pecan farm had a huge capital gains problem, and we talked through that, the pros and cons of that, and how to address that, and we ended up getting the deal done. But they both were aware of it, but the seller was, the time to sell is when you got a buyer, and the buyer was there, ready, willing, and able, and the seller took the deal.
Yeah, great example of the uncertainty right now. So what is your advice? What do you think farmland owners should be doing right now?
Well, there's still chaos in the market, so we can't say buying or selling is the right thing to do right now. For the example I used that happened yesterday, it was the right time for the seller to sell. But, you know, like row crop producers, for example, they're struggling right now with commodity prices low, high input prices. Beef producers right now, they seem to be more profitable than row crops. So I don't know if I'd sell that cash cow right now or not. I'd probably stay in that business for a little while. You know, but the farm is usually the biggest asset that a family has. So, you know, we like to use tools like a DST and a 1031 to help eliminate or defer some of that capital gains exposure and let them hold on to as much money as they can. Again, always the time to sell is when you have a buyer, you know, but don't panic sell because of this. And if a sale's in your future, please contact a professional like somebody from National Land Realty. We talk about 1031 exchanges, and we talk about DSTs, and we talk about triple net properties to move this money into every single day of our life. And we talk about things like the big, beautiful bill. Get with your farm service agency to talk through the big, beautiful bill if it passes, to see if you're eligible for some of these things. But the best advice I always give people is, if there's a sale in your future, whether it's 2 months or 5 years, contact a professional.
All right. Well, your opinion is always respected. We appreciate you. CEO of National Land Realty, Ronnie Richardson. Appreciate you joining us today.